Thank you. Okay, I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. I think that out of the 3 speeches, us on side proposition still don't get mechanism on how exactly they will reform the whole education system to be better, right? I think the fact that they give you the fact that, we have less teachers, thus we now just hire more teachers, right? We tell you that this is already unfeasible. We tell you why this already led to problems in status quo, right? We tell you that in many ways, they fail to prove us why exactly they solve the educational gap that exists in status quo, whether it be for disenfranchised people, whether it be for people who just generally cannot learn, because memorizing 50 pages out of a textbook isn't necessarily learning for some people, right? I think we tell you that there is a problem and we make it very clear, right? We tell you that the problem in status quo is that some people have the lack of, some people have the lack of a grasp on the educational system, right? We tell you the fact that a lot of people simply do not understand what's going on in school, thus digital resources help, right? But we also tell you that on our side of the house, right, a lot of disenfranchised people who don't necessarily get the maximum attention that they could have been getting, right, now has access to extra resources online, right? And I think a weird thing that we say is that, oh yeah, but now it'll cost more money. I think we already tell you the fact that the internet is mostly free, right? We tell you that mobile phones are generally cheap because it's so accessible, and the fact that there's so many competitors in the market, right? I think the fact that we have so many different, educational resources that we already told you about, like Bluekit, like Kahoot and YouTube, all of which are free, by the way, all of which the government doesn't necessarily have to make an investment in, right? I think we tell you at the end of the day that our case is mainly about bridging the educational gap. It's mainly about bridging something that teachers cannot deliver in status quo in schools, right? I think now let's just go on to engaging with their case for one last time, right? We think they said that number 1, kids will watch Skibidi Toilet in school, right? We tell you this is untrue, and we tell you that yes, because the reason why it's necessarily untrue is because obviously there's more monitoring in schools, right? We think that, yeah, even though they call us out for abusing our fiat, we say that yes, even though some kids do watch Skibidi Toilet in class because now they have access to a digital device, right? We tell you that this is still better than most kids just droning out in class because they don't know what's going on, right? We tell you that it is still better because the majority of people who still want to pass their SPM can now have the access to additional resources to be able to do that, right? I think secondly is about classism, right? We think that this is very weird because the fact that this is not exactly the case is exactly what we already disproved in our speeches, right? I think the fact that unlike Sri KDU, the government doesn't force people to buy MacBooks, right? The fact that people already have mobile phones in status quo because it's so cheap and so accessible, the fact that now you're blocking people from bringing it to school just because you think that they will watch Skibidi Toilet is a very what-if case, right? But we tell you that we have so many different benefits on our side of the house, right? We think that it's more accessible and now more people can use these extra resources that already exist online, right? We think that lastly, we think that it doesn't matter if Yinrei has an iPhone 16 Pro Max, right? I think the fact that Yinrei and a person who doesn't necessarily have that good of a phone can still access the same resources, can still access the same, digital resources that can help me pass my math exam is exactly what we bring to you in this debate, right? I think this is really what matters, right? The thing that really matters in this debate and what gives proposition the win is because we tell you how exactly we help the majority of students who simply cannot learn properly because the educational system has failed them, right? We tell you that this will work, right? Because it's so accessible. We're not necessarily forcing the government. We're not forcing people to make a huge investment, right? This is obviously a big contrast to their case, which hinges on the fact that the government will do something about the failing education system someday or another by investing billions of dollars, which they don't have, billions of dollars, which are already not being diverted to the educational system, right? And with that, I've never been prouder to propose. Thank you.
Thank you so much.